I like Warhammer. For many years now, Warhammer has given me more entertainment than I think anything else ever had. And despite all of its problems, I still recommend that you give it a try. In all of its various forms, be it Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, or one of the specialist games, um, Kill Team, like Blood Bowl, Necromunda, or even one of the larger specialist games, one of the full-on ones like Lord of the Rings, and the Horus Heresy. These are incredibly fun to just play, and building and painting the models incredible. That being said, the owner of said items, Games Workshop, is one of the most reprehensible companies on the planet. I loathe them to a degree that is unprecedented for me. Not even Tencent makes me as angry as simply hearing the name Games Workshop does. It's quite simple that Warhammer is popular. Everyone knows it's popular. They know it's popular. It's made them billions. Just look at their stock price. Yet, everything they do seems to just fuck the fans in the ass. And it's really sad to see because when they started this process, when they first announced they were doing stuff like this, and we were going to be led into like animations and even a television show, um, it seemed like it was going to be a positive direction. Then we got the just annihilation of fan animation. And as of today, we have seen the first of Games Workshop's in house produced animations. Uh, Today they released a free episode of Hammer and Bolter Old Battle Eye. One of the most atrocious animations I've ever seen. And I've seen some shitty animation. It has an art style that on its own isn't terrible, but it's just not very good. And the worst part is that all of the things that they annihilated from YouTube, the things that they just taken through basically a forced contract, which to be fair they had a legal right to do, but that still doesn't make it right, is now being locked behind Warhammer Plus, which as its prime service was to sell Warhammer content, and it's just not very good. It's going to cost $5.99 a month, and this is what it's going to get you. It's going to get you a wealth of original Warhammer animations, weekly Warhammer TV shows, including gaming, lore, and painting shows, full access to Warhammer apps, that's Warhammer 40,000, the app, and upcoming Reforged Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the app. The Warhammer Vault, featuring issues of White Dwarf and other classic Warhammer publications, exclusive monthly offers, premium access to official Warhammer events, one of these incredible Warhammer Plus Citadel miniatures. I will include a picture on. It's not worth it. None of this is worth it. The Warhammer 40,000 app, when it first launched, was abysmal on its own. It lacked features. It it was a mess, and it allowed you to make options for your characters that, by codex standards, weren't valid. But when you did it through the app, which I guess is the most valid form of the builder because it's what they spent their money on, and they kind of said that on Twitter, would make certain things be ridiculous. Of course, now we have, seen examples that they don't really care about this and have just FAQ'd, which is fine. I'm glad they did. At least they're trying to balance and make things, but still, it can be quite angering to see them do. The reason I get so upset about this is simply the way they've assembled Warhammer. Warhammer Plus was basically hinted at years ago when they first announced that Eisenhower, my favorite Warhammer book, would be converted into television show with the guy behind the X-Files at the helm. Now, I was hoping, and I was kind of waiting to see if anything else got announced about that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So the current state of events has spurred me to. It's a really damn shame because I really hope, but I really don't want eyes or Hammer. That shit needs to be on a regular television so people can watch it because it's genuinely a good story, and I well. And you know what? Some of the things they're offering in their app as well. Um, Lore Masters and Battle Report. Now, Lore Masters, we already have a few good ones. I don't actually like any of them personally myself. I take issue with just about every single. But they exist. And then battle reports. There are some fantastic battle report channels out there. And the fact that they're announcing that they're going to have battle report episodes behind a paywall makes me feel like they might go after battle report channels just as they went after the animations, which, they don't have any claim to, but Games Workshop is apparently directed by a legal team that just doesn't care. Because they also made a statement about modding for Warhammer 2. Now, Total War, Warhammer 2, that is. Now, that game is, to me, unplayable without mods. And some of these mod teams work so hard on it that they basically require donations. It's a lot of time they've put into there. Games Workshop has announced that you can't do that anymore because that's making money off of their IP, which I believe has been tested in court, and the court decided that because it was a mod, I believe they were exonerated, and they are allowed to do that. So the fact that Games Workshop is just disregarding this ruling makes me extremely nervous for this. Either way, beyond the shit that Games Workshop pulls, I would really like to tell you play Warhammer in one of its many. Warhammer is truly wonderful experience, and being able to interact with its wonderful community over these last couple of years that I started playing, has been unforgettable. And I really hope that more people would be interested in Warhammer from this hobby point of view. And I would hope that they'd be able to play and enjoy hobby, regardless of the shitty thing that the publishing. It's the same thing for one of my other favorite video games, World of Warships. Now, I'd still say play that game. It's a lot of fun, despite all of the shit that wargaming pulls. Those those two companies seem to be very similar these days. That's not really a good thing for basically anyone. Fun because they've done collaborations. I wonder how that happened. Well, beyond this, I would just let's move on to something positive. Warhammer, is it's expensive. I think people have calculated that a 2,000 point army costs somewhere in the range of $100, which is a lot of money. That's a shit ton of. Um, but I'd still recommend you spend it because it's saying playing Warhammer is. I would also recommend that you use money saving strategies. You know, start out small. Just get yourself a little miniature, paint and play. Do something like that. Don't go out there and buy your army. Go through resellers. The community. Despite the fact that there are scalpers everywhere, and they scalp you for just about anything. The moment a product gets announced, there are already scalpers selling it for more than what it's going to be worth because they know that shit's going to sell out instant on eBay. That is, they've somewhat cracked down on that with their latest release, which was their new Death Corps of Krieg versus Orcs box for Kill Team, um, which is a good thing. But other than scalpers, eBay's your friend. I've managed to acquire a Warhammer fantasy army, largely comprised of about 50% discontinued models, for a reasonable price. I didn't spend all that much on the army itself. Certain characters cost me a bit of a pretty penny. Balthazar Gelt was pretty expensive, and my first model of him got lost in the mail. Thankfully, I got my money back, but experiences like that do occasionally put people off to it. But at the same time, I've had incredibly positive experiences on eBay. It's just advisable that you money save. There are also multiple other smaller games. You want to get your hands in and you want to experiment with something, get one of these various specialist games and have a fun time playing things like Kill Team, which only basically require a single squad of soldiers. You can have lots of kill teams if you can't decide on a single army. Or, play one of the various AOS kill team. Play that. It's a simple case of uh, just play what feels right to you. There's a lot of systems, and that's another thing. Why is Warhammer still successful even though it's run by a shit company? I'll tell you why. It's because it has a good game. It's not as complicated as some, and it's more complicated than others. But at its core, it's pretty easy to understand, and it's pretty simple to be taught it. I was taught in a matter of hours how to play, and I've never really struggled with the rules ever since. I can't thank the community enough for at my local game doing that. No, they were incredible people. But still, don't be put off by any complication. It's it's daunting, but all is doable. And there is another thing when I say if you decide to ever investigate Warhammer, ignore Forge World. All of their shit costs $1 million, an arm and a leg, and your soul. Don't buy from them. They have, I believe, a couple complete armies that are exclusive to Forge World. Don't buy them. They cost so much. And that one of the specialist games, the Horus Heresy, you don't play that either until you've played a significant amount of Warhammer because, or done a significant amount of modeling because almost a large chunk of your army will be comprised entirely of resin. And if you don't know what resin is, it's the worst material on Earth, and it'll give you cancer. So there's that. Don't do that. Um, don't buy anything that's fine cast, uh, because that shit will shit out of you until you're a more experienced hobbyist. That's all I have to say on that matter. In conclusion, Warhammer is excellent. The people behind it are awful and should be damned to hell. But the community surrounding it is incredible. At going to a local game store has been one of the funnest things that I've ever done. And I highly recommend you. Anyway, I just wanted to give some thoughts about Warhammer, and that's how I've decided to go about it. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.